Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to today's Creative Corner. We are going to be celebrating National Pi Day, not pi as in you eat, but the mathematical equation pi, which is pi. Because today's 314, we're going to incorporate the number into basic coding. I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we'll go ahead and call it a day. Okay, everyone, before we get started with our coding basics to do some pi art, we are going to be looking at what kind of software we'll be using. Today, I am using Processing, which is an open source software. It is free and is supported by a community. So if you would like to download it, all you need to do is go to processing.org. When you get to the website, it should look like this, how I have it in front of you. A little welcome message, and all you have to do is click the download button. They do offer 3 different types of downloads, one for Windows, Mac, and then the last one is for Linux. So make sure you figure out what kind of desktop, tablet, phone you have, and then you can go ahead and download the appropriate software. Before I dive in, if you want to learn more than what I'm teaching you today, all you have to do is click Learn and click Examples, and then it will give you basic tutorial videos on how to do the basics as well as some advanced stuff too as well. This is what it's going to look like when you have it open. When you have it open, this white space in the middle is everything that's you'll need to do your coding, and processing runs on JavaScript, which is one of the basic computer languages. We also have HTML and C++. But for this one, you'll have your code in the middle in the white areas, and then this gray area on the bottom will let you know if what you're working on isn't running properly because of a variety of factors, and it'll tell you specifically what that is. So before we dive in, I kind of want to show you an example. So this is one of my earlier works. I titled it Rectangle because there's some rectangle stuff in there. And when you have your code fully situated, you can press the play button. And depending on your code, we'll go ahead and run what you're working on. So this is the code. And with each mouse click, it resets to the very beginning. With this code specifically, it runs a variety of factors. So first, it runs the background, which is a very solid color. It doesn't do anything other than just being there. But I have these random rectangles being generated on the overall space. And each rectangle is a different color, but also the bevel or the edges are also curved and rounded, while others are not as curved. And it's just going to continue to run until it fills up the entire space. One of the other ones I have is based on the ellipses, and I'll go over a little bit more about ellipses in our workshop here too as well. So again, with every mouse click, it just resets, but I have a variety of different ellipses or circles generating on a solid background. But this time, the ellipses are a rainbow of colors. The rectangles were medians of between red and blue, including purple, whereas this one, it's a random assortment of colors too as well. The last one I'm going to show you is one about triangles. So we're going to go ahead and run this. Again, with each mouse click, it's going to start from the beginning, but this one is specific to green with the blue background. And this one is a little bit different because you can see that there are some transparencies for the triangles where as some of them are opaque, some of them are translucent. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start with our basic sketch. So the first thing we need to do is set up our space. So we're going to do void setup. And again, this is to set up the overall canvas space. And the second thing we need to do is set up our draw factor. So this is going to set up the parameters of your canvas, as well as the background and a variety of other things. And then the draw feature is going to actually draw the shapes that you want and a variety of other things too as well. So first things first, we're going to set up our overall size. And for the size, it runs on two factors. So we have an X factor, which determines the length, then the Y factor, which determines the width. So as long as the first number and second number matches each other, it's going to be a square. If one number was greater than the other, then it's going to be a rectangle. And then the other thing that we can do is go ahead and include a background color. One variable is going to be a grayscale value. If we have three variables, it's going to be red, green, and blue. So then if we run this, it's just going to give me a solid 1000 pixel by 1000 pixel square canvas with a very black background. So we need to do a few other things in order to get some shapes and some other things too. So we didn't really talk about pi, but today is 3.14, March 14th. Pi is a mathematical equation that a lot of people utilize, so we can actually incorporate it into our overall space. So the way that this circle is, so the circle is three factors. So you have the X, which is going to determine where it is horizontally, the Y, which is vertically, and then R, or the radius of your circle, is going to determine how big your circle is. So if I wanted exactly center, I'm going to do 250 by 250, and then pick a random number for our radius. It's not exactly center because center is 500 by 500, and I typed in 250 by 250 for some reason. So we would just have to change this to 500 by 500. So when we run this, we have a circle that's exactly center with a diameter. I don't know why I said radius, but we have a diameter of 100 pixels. So that's what it looks like. We're going to be including some pi. So if you want, we're going to change our circle, and we're going to actually use an ellipse. So ellipses are slightly different because we need a width and a height. So our width is going to be 100 pixels. Actually, let's make it 250. 250 pixels by pi. So when we run this, so we have our ellipse. It is 250 pixels wide and only 3.14 pixels in height. So it's a very thin sliver on our canvas. We can change this so that way it's pi times 10. So when we run it now, it's going to be slightly bigger. So just depending on how you do this, your factors, it's going to determine your overall shape. So we'll go ahead and make that 100. So the next thing I'm doing is, if we want our factors to change on a scale, we're going to incorporate floats. So you'll type it at the very top. And what I'm doing is I want my position along the horizontal plane to change every time I run the code. So I have x is random between 0 to 1,000. And actually, because our width of our over ellipse is 250, I would like to increase this to 250 and subtract 250 from here. So that way the width on the horizontal plane, it doesn't go past the shape that we have. We're going to do that for this again for the vertical plane. So now that we run this, we have a random generated shape, and it's not going to go past horizontally or vertically past the parameters that we set. Now triangles, if you take a look, there are 6 factors. So it's actually going to determine the points of which your triangle are. So x and y, x1, y1, no, sorry, x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. So all I did was Control X, so that way the triangle is underneath the ellipse. And we can actually fill this in. So we have red, green, and blue. And these numbers are on a scale between 0 to 255. So I'm going to just select a random sequence of numbers. So when I do that, it kind of looks like a plum magenta color. So now I have a white triangle with that plum magenta color for the ellipse. So I highly encourage you, like I mentioned previously, to mess with the code itself. There's a lot of things that you could potentially do. Let me show you an example of one of my more complex codes. And I don't know why it's doing this. That is unusual. I don't know why it's like that. So this one's a little bit more complex of a code. So we have these random numbers for red, green, and blue for a variety of shapes I have. And there are 5 different sequences. I'm also doing a gradient scale for a couple of the shapes that I have. So it's going to start at 1, it's going to change gradient on a scale between that number, so it's bouncing back and forth. If you're working with 3-dimensional planes, you have to include a third variable to your size. So that is P3D that I have here. I have a black background, and I added this feature called no cursor, so it's not going to show my mouse on the sketch space itself. One of the things I did not talk about is how to comment out certain functions, and that's the / that you see here. So commenting out is making invisible commands that's not going to appear on your overall sketch. So that the way that it reads, it's not going to read that space. So it's going to skip that and go to the next section. So there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of these codes that I have here, but I kind of want to show you the overall product. So let me go ahead and change one of my shapes. Okay. So one little detail, and if you take a look, that huge ball of mass is the one I changed to pi times 100. Pi times 100, I probably shouldn't have done 100. Maybe I should have did 10 or 50, 25. So it did change significantly. It's now smaller. Um, so it's up to you how you want to incorporate pi into your overall sketch. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of things that we could incorporate into this. We could change all the factors to pi, times divided by, it's really up to you. You can add numbers. The great way to learn about, to learn more about processing and what you can do is go to this open community that shares their overall designs. So this is open processing. And when you go to processing.org, you click on discover, it will show you everyone's sketches. And you can click any one of these boxes and take a look at their overall sketches. And it depends on your computer itself. So this, it's not interactive, but you can see the shape just kind of free floating and forming in different shapes and patterns. But when you click on someone's sketch, if you click on the top, you can take a look at their code. And then you can download this, modify it, just to kind of learn more about the different features of processing. And I think this is C++ code. So you gotta pay attention because these lead portions of the code tells what it is. So if it's void is usually JavaScript. HTML is going to look different, and like I said, I believe this is C++. I've not worked with it personally, but there are a variety of other things too as well. So again, if you don't have the software, processing.org is the open source software. Openprocessing.org is to look at other people's sketches to kind of get an idea. You can download the sketches too as well, mess with their code, and make sure you give them credit too as well, because a lot of people put in a lot of hard work. Thank you for joining me on today's Creative Corner. We worked on coding, basic coding, and incorporating the number of pi into some of our sketches. So if you want, processing is completely free and it's downloadable like I mentioned previously. And then I'll go ahead and put some other references and resources in the video description for you. If you like to, be sure to follow us on our social media pages. We have everything. It is available on the homepage of our website, which I will also include into the video description of this video. We have some supply kits available. Be sure to find those available on our homepage too as well. We have everything for this month, from matchbook stories to everything for crafty kids. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a phone call. Thank you very much. My name is Joshua. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.